Do you feel like in the setting that you work in, थोड़ा can you keep your आप बचपना जिंदा रख सकते हो 9 बजे वाले एंकर और उस 1 घंटे के लिए क्या कभी बिकॉज आई फील लाइक टिल द टाइम रवीश वाज डूइंग इट वो एक बचपना एक यू नो सम काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमर वाज अलाइव देयर टिल अ पॉइंट माय क्वेश्चन इज क्या वो बचपना जिंदा रखा जा सकता है आज के लिए एक सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट में
When I'm in the studio surrounded by angry politicians shouting at each other and at me, कहाँ बचपना
Is it not necessary for a journalist to have some of that alive?
Of course it is. And some of it comes out on election day. You know, some of the sort of note joke, वो आ जाती है.
Why is it important for a journalist to have that bachpana alive?
Because how else are you going to be a good observer? Right? Otherwise, you think अगर आपका बचपना ना हो, then you are sitting in some ivory tower. जैसे पुराने editors बैठा करते थे.
इस पे मेरा सवाल ये है राजदीप, is it a good strategy for top इंडिया के सीनियर पत्रकार, टॉप पत्रकारों को एसी स्टूडियो में बैठ के टक्सीडो पहन के कॉफी सिप करना बेहतर लाइफस्टाइल है या फिर उनको जमीन पे उतरना चाहिए रोज रात को?
No option. There's no question. You can be occasionally in the studio. Let's not also
so then
but you should be spending a substantial part talking to people. You said bachpana na? One of my original mentors in this profession was RK Laxman, the famous cartoonist. He used to sit in the room next to me. And one of the reasons why Laxman was such a genius is because he never lost his bachpana, his sense of playfulness. He would suddenly take a pen away from you and look around. Rajdeep, where is the pen? Where is the pen? Here is a 60-year-old guy ready taking a pen from my desk, then creating a fuss. You
have to be childlike.
He had that as a cartoonist. How else could you retain narrate? Din pe din aapko ek chota cartoon karna hai, and you thereby become a good observer. You see, if you are sitting in a studio, how are you going to observe what's happening on the ground?
So then, why are we all sitting in studios?
Because it is perhaps sad to say. Perhaps a low-cost way of doing a news, right? You do a hour.
पर जो lifestyle आप लोग जी रहे हो वो lifestyle को low cost थोड़ी है?
No. Samdish, there's nothing wrong in sitting in a studio as long as you ensure that when you're sitting in a studio, you also give enough space to reports, which are done from the field. At my age, I cannot be in every part of the country, right?
I agree, yeah.
But your reporters can be. उनको जगह दे दो. You see, a lot of prime time is spent with the fighting spokespersons and not enough with your reporters who are actually out in the field.
Is there enough awareness of this?
Of course there is. I think there is. I think the profession realizes this. I think the intelligent people
जो 8, 9, 10 वाला slot कर रहे हैं उनको पता है.
हाँ बिल्कुल पता है. But
पर इससे TRP or whatever
अरे यार वो TRP भी मुझे लगता है particularly in English the only I've maintained this always. The only TRP that should matter for you is credibility and perception. English news में वैसे ही market छोटा है.
How much money does credibility make?
I think credibility makes a huge amount of money. Credibility is something which is unlike, that's the difference between news and entertainment. Entertainment you can say मुझे TRP चाहिए.
Sure.
In news I call it television respect points, not television rating points. Get your
अच्छा
I've done a Modi. This is a Modi. See वो acronym लेके मैंने कर दिया.
And that's why I'm saying you are completely in love with the man. You are copying style.
I'm learning यार.
कभी फेज नहीं आया जब थोड़ा arrogant हो गए जब IBN शुरू हो रहा था यार राजदीप यार आप एकलौते थे जिसमें इतनी कुव्वत थी कि वो NDTV से छोड़ के गया उसने एक नया you were probably after Dr. Roy the first sort of and he was also a journalist at one point, he still is, but you were the entrepreneurial journalist, the first to jump ship and start his own ship. So did that not वो नहीं आया ऊपर? कुछ तो होगा कि
ना. I have a lot of weaknesses. I don't think being arrogant is one of them. I just don't.
नहीं तो कभी तो पैर slip होता है.
Of course it is. Of course.
वो कभी हुआ कि नहीं?
I'll tell you what. We grumble about life and all. Recently I was in Maharashtra and I met these soybean farmer loaders. The loaders. Man, you lift one sack of that and it takes all your energies out. And they are lifting 50, 60 sacks a day and they get paid $400 or $500, some small amount. And then you realize, you're very, very fortunate to be where you are. TV anchor studio में बैठा है, mic पकड़ के चल रहा है और पैसे मिल रहे हैं उसको और वो loader को 400-500 रुपए.
Are you guys paid crazy money?
No, not at all. I think TV changed the rules of the game. People got paid much more. It's not crazy money. I mean, crazy money is what you pay lawyers to adjourn a case.
अब यार वो तो
जजमेंट के लिए मैं नहीं मिल रहा है, ले लो यार, साइन कर लो और पैसे निकाल लो, and you can't even say no.
not how much you are paid, but can you give me a ballpark of how much TV anchors are paid?
I have no idea, Samdish.
समाज में ओपननेस बढ़ाओ राजदीप सरदेसाई, ऐसा ना करो ऐसे।
अरे वो तो the worst thing is यार, तुम्हारे सोशल मीडिया जनरेशन पर someone put up all the so called monies that anchors were paid.
क्या वो सच था?
अरे बिल्कुल झूठ, बिल्कुल झूठ।
उससे बहुत ज्यादा कमाते हो।
Only thing that I was lucky was because when I started, as you said, set up your own ship, and it wasn't me, it was others around me, Raghav Bell, Sameer Manchanda and others. Once it was set up, we went public, and there was a time when my stock was worth a hell of a lot of money. I typically, being a Maharashtrian, I didn't sell. I said, yeah, we'll see when my daughter gets married, I'll keep the money for that. But at the end of the day, so I was lucky. And that enabled me to buy a house. And कौन सोचा था journalists can, have a nice large house. You can do that today, which you couldn't do 30, 40 years ago, even though they did probably much better journalism than I did. I think that's the opportunity your generation has got, and you need to seize it and take it to the next level.
ले जा रहे हैं
यार।
एक बात बताओ आपको, पर एक सेकंड बता दूं राजदीप, इस मुगालते में ना रही है कि सारे पॉडकास्टर सारे यूट्यूबर अच्छा कर रहे हैं,
नहीं।
और ऐसे भी हैं राजदीप जो सरकार से पैसा भी ले लेंगे इंटरव्यू के लिए, ऐसे भी हैं जो क्वेश्चनर भी दे देंगे, ऐसे हैं जो एडिट पे भी कंट्रोल दे देंगे, ऐसे भी लोग हैं।
There are also 400 TV news channels in this country. 400 हैं। अब उसमें कितने न्यूज़ कर रहे हैं, कितने बाकी चीज़ें कर रहे हैं, या न्यूज़ का गैर इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं।
कोई नाम बताओ।
Some are blackmailers.
नाम बताओ। Blackmailers in the news?
Of course.
How is the blackmail done?
One big company, which is based in Jamshedpur, was once told by one editor of a regional news channel, कि we are going to carry a series of stories about how you are polluting Jamshedpur or the waters in Jamshedpur.
सीधा टाटा के खिलाफ ही obviously.
Unless you give us so much of advertising.
सीधा। और ये अभी हाल की बात है या कभी होता था अब नहीं होता?
नहीं, I'm sure it takes place in different forms. You've got this whole notion of private treaties, which one of India's biggest newspaper groups apparently promotes, wherein they say we will carry, we'll carry articles about a particular company. You give us stock or whatever in the company, or some kind of a share in the company to promote a company. I have no problem if it was branded content and you told the reader that this is branded content. No problem.
You're cheating the audience.
Otherwise, if you don't do it that way, you're cheating the audience, and that's happened. And a lot of these news channels, 400 news channel, कैसे survive करेंगे नहीं तो?
कहाँ होती है लाइन? कहाँ? और क्या वो लाइन निरंतर हिल रही है? क्या समाज को समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है अब कि भाई लाइन है क्या? क्या आप जैसे विरले ही है जो एक पता नहीं एक फिक्टिशियस लाइन को लेके पकड़ के बैठे हुए हैं? क्या फायदा नहीं हो जाता है कि कोई एथिक्स का ना ही सोचें? कोई लाइन होती भी है कि नहीं होती है?
There is no, look, I really honestly can't claim that politicians are our personal friends. It's very difficult to create personal friendships with
नहीं तो
politicians.
क्या आप कह रहे हो नहीं रखनी चाहिए या आपने नहीं रखी है?
नहीं रखनी चाहिए is for each individual. Sometimes those friendships are very useful, right? That's how you cultivate sources.
बन जाता है,
In the sense of cultivating sources, you build friendships with politicians. I have found the friendship part tough. Because journalists and politicians use each other. Let me be very honest. There's an incestuous relationship. We when it suits us, we go to them, cultivate them.
Sure.
Because we want an interview or we want a story. Some want it for other benefits.
वो लाइन क्रॉस कब होती है?
हो जाती है.
नहीं यार एग्जाम्पल दो ना, होती बताओ ना, क्या अंदर क्या चलता है, कुछ बता के जाओ.
I can't say where exactly the line gets crossed, but it's up to each individual to
आपके लिए कब होता है अनएथिकल, ये बता दो ना.
If there was a direct quid pro quo, कि आप मेरे बारे में ये लिखो, I will give you this, that kind of equation if it is built, that to my mind is where the line gets crossed. Then you're no longer a journalist, which is again each individual has to decide.
क्या ऐसा होता है?
Of course.
अभी भी होता है?
Of course, I remember when I was president of Editors Guild, we did a report with the Election Commission of India on paid news.
Okay.
On how headlines were being put before the elections in newspapers for a price. The Election Commission then decided to make it very clear that would constitute an offence under the Representation of People's Act. Has it changed anything? I don't know. I can't say. It will be interesting to know how many people have actually stopped doing paid news who were doing it earlier. But the truth of the matter, it's a business model out there for many people.
वो तो ठीक है, पर वो उस अनएथिकल है ना आपके लिए?
बिल्कुल है.
अच्छा, अगर कोई बोले कि पैसा मिल रहा है, कमा रहे हैं यार, तो आप क्या बोलोगे?
then
and if it's not inciting violence और कल को मेरे पास मैं अपना ही बताता हूँ आपको एथिकल माइनफील्ड है जो मैं कर रहा हूँ वो भी एक एथिकल माइनफील्ड है और मैं नहीं लेता हूँ ऐसा पैसा पर कोई हार्मलेस सा पॉलिटिशियन किसी भी पार्टी का मेरे को बोले कि यार एक सॉफ्ट इंटरव्यू कर दो यू नो एंड गुड मनी इज ऑफर्ड सर आई कैन कोट यू दैट अमाउंट वो मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि
कितना मिलता है
25-30 मिल सकता है आराम से
1000 or lakhs
thousands you look at the office you look at my clothes look at my shoes thousands what are you saying 25 lakhs I can make by interviewing a Rajya Sabha MP who you know और ऐसा भी नहीं कि वो कोई बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है और मैं उनका सॉफ्ट इंटरव्यू कर दूंगा तो कोई दिक्कत समाज में कुछ दिक्कत नहीं होगी तो मैं क्यों ना कमाऊं वो पैसा
look as you said, it's an ethical minefield. I like the word you used.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not my. Some guest said it to me, and I've taken it.
I was wondering.
I've taken it. Yeah.
But it's a nice word.
But you think I can't throw fancy words?
No. It's a nice. No.
It is a nice word.
It's a nice word, and that's exactly what it is. It's an ethical minefield, which is why I was very cautious of saying that. I don't want to sit here on a pulpit and say, this guy's unethical, this guy's ethical. I think each one of us has our own sort of Lakshman Rekha of things we will do and we won't do.
I know it's unethical, that's why I'm not taking that money. I want you to elaborate on उस केस में भी क्यों unethical है जहाँ कुछ violence inside नहीं हो रहा हिंदू मुस्लिम कुछ नहीं फैल रहा
I'm saying please inform the viewer or reader. Tell the viewer this article is sponsored by so and so.
And if I don't, why am I in the wrong?
Because then the essential basis is your relationship that you have with your reader or your viewer. It's a very special relation based on trust, right? Trust है लोग आपको देख रहे हैं क्योंकि लोग आप पर विश्वास करते हैं. That is what credibility is. Credibility is built over years. ये कोई box office नहीं है. See, we are not doing some lungi dance, even though you think I dance, but in the show. But it's not about Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan needs to see box office every Friday. Right? I don't think a journalist needs to. A journalist needs to build trust with a viewer or a reader, which is built over 3-4 decades, and that's what we are all about. We should be all about.
That should come first.
That should come first, yeah.